I've been thinking a lot recently about things like charity and Band-Aid and things like that. And one of the things that strikes me about the whole thing that happened when Band-Aid happened is that really what actually happened was that a lot of very powerful, wealthy and entitled people got together and organised all of the less powerful, less wealthy, still fairly wealthy compared to the people they were helping, people to help even less wealthy, really poor people, the people who were starving and dying. But if you actually look at, Bob Geldof probably did give, he put his hand in his pocket, he gave money. But if you total up the amount of money that was given, how much of that was actually given by people who really probably couldn't afford it, probably didn't have that much money? The fact is that if all those incredibly wealthy people had simply got together and, said, oh, let's do something about this, and just did it, it would have had the same effect. It would have probably ended up with the same amount of money. I mean, look at Bill Gates. What is it? $50-60 billion. It's an impossible amount to spend. If he published his own book and then bought it and then used the royalties to buy that again, it would be more popular than the Bible. It's that simple. That's how rich the guy is. It's just fucking impossibly rich. And these people are now so rich that there's, they've gone beyond barons and the wealth that the Middle Ages had. They've gone beyond that. It's just so ridiculous that they could own entire countries if they wanted to. And yet, there's a little part of their brain that just stops them doing that, stops them becoming, Dr. No or whatever it is, some evil Bond villain. But, the point I'm trying to make here is that our whole society is based on the notion of competition. And yet what got us through, what saved us when there was an ice age, when we were dying off, when there was only a tiny fraction of who we are now, was not competition. It was not that thing. And we keep going on about, the fittest survive and all that bullshit, The fact is, the fittest didn't really survive, did they? Because if that were true, then all of the impurities, so-called, would have been bred out of people. The strongest would have survived. The Ice Age would have wiped out all of the impurities in society, and everybody left would have been, the purest people. But it didn't. It didn't do that. What happened is, all the psychos and the nut jobs had to stay along because someone had to enforce the rules. Someone had to make, the people who stole the cows pay. And, nice people don't want to do that. So, what do? You go up to the psychos and you say, hunters, we're gatherers. We don't really want to kill people. So could you do that for us? And, the hunters, what are they going to do? They're going to turn around and go, yeah, we're going to do that, but we'd like something in return. Your complete and absolute devotion and total surrender of everything you own, which is what happened. And that's how we ended up with the Middle Ages and the barons and, and it's happening again. It's happened throughout society. It happened in Egypt. It happened with the Roman Empire. It happened with the Holy Roman Church, which was just an extension of the empire. I mean, how do you control a massive empire? You write a book and you tell everyone that if they don't read it, they're going to go to this horrible place called hell. Bollocks. But getting back to the real world, we all know three basic things. Deep down in our heads, we know these things to be true. One of them is that the world is massively overpopulated, yet we refuse to stop breeding. We also know that all of it is an illusion. When we were kids, what was one of the things, someone's tried to explain inflation to us, and what did we do? We turned around and we said, well, why don't we just all lower the prices? Every kid probably thought that. And every kid was confused when their father said, well, you can't do that because it's a really expensive and incredibly complex system of checks and balances. Bullshit. We could all just get together and say coffee is no longer £1.75, it's now 2p. We could do that, but we don't, because our whole society is built on competition rather than cooperation. Take away the competition, take away that element, and you could lower all the prices. And the problem is that competition is not the way in which people thrive. People thrive in cooperative situations, in villages, in the idea of communities where people help each other. Yeah, it's not perfect. Nothing's ever perfect, but it's a hell of a lot better than what we have now, which is the notion that, if you fall by the wayside, you end up in a sleeping bag on the side of the road with people chucking coins at you. Wow, great way to run your society. You know, some of the smartest people I've met in my life have been homeless. You know, explain that to me. Explain how really smart people who, if given the chance, could probably revolutionize aspects of the world, end up sleeping on the streets. Well, I'll tell you, because society is geared not towards rewarding intelligence or rewarding ability, it's geared towards rewarding greed. What are you going to do about it? Well, you know, that's the big question, isn't it? What are you going to do about it? The chances are the answer is nothing, because nobody ever does. Nobody ever changes anything. And I'm including myself in all of this because, you know, clearly all I'm doing is sitting here with a smartphone, which by its definition, you know, has been, the elements of it have been mined by people who've had their hands chopped off by warlords so that I can own a smartphone. You know, it's made from parts that probably cost less than, you know, a cup of coffee. And yet I'm prepared to pay a ridiculous amount of money for it because it makes my ego feel better. You know, what's the fucking point of that? It's middle class fucking angst. All of this, that's probably all this is, middle class angst. But, you know, give me your opinion. Tell me what you think. Okay? Well, anyway, that's all for today. Bye.